Unsung Murder Ballads discusses topics of a disturbing nature.
And we're not going to hold back on the graphic details and disturbing content.
So we do not recommend our podcast for children under the age of 13.
And while we respect the victims and their families involved in these tragic cases,
we're also going to be critical of mistakes that are made during the investigations.
And we're going to use dark humor to express ourselves now and then.
So with that said, this podcast may not be for everyone.
And that's okay. We're glad you're here checking us out.
And if you've made it this far, welcome to the Unsung Murder Ballads family. And follow us on Instagram at Unsung Murder Ballads if you want to talk to us.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Unsung Murder Ballads. This is episode 130. I am Janus Dead.
I'm Jameson Dead.
And I'm Joyous Dead.
All right, so tonight we are going to cover a very interesting case. It is the most prolific serial killer in human history.
What?
Oh shit! This is gonna be rough, huh?
This one's crazy. I can't lie. And obviously,
I got my drink next to me, so I'm as prepared as I can be.
Right, and any listener, I mean, they'll see the name just from the title. But even without that said, they'll know who this is. If our listeners are deep in true crime, they already know who it is that has the highest body count in global history, minus like war crimes. You know,
well, of little surprise to anyone, I don't know.
Well, of course not. And honestly, his name is so unassuming that you probably even might know someone with this name.
Oh, that's wild.
That's the crazy part. But we'll get to that in a sec. So we have a teaser first. A missionary from the United States was working with indigenous groups in Peru, and they came upon a shocking scene. A man was captured by the townsfolk because he was attempting to abduct a young girl, and the town was preparing for some good old-fashioned mob justice. So the missionary began talking the mob down, talking about God and justice. Murder, she said, was a sin. Thou shalt not kill and all that shit.
Right, not thou shalt not kidnap little girls.
Right, exactly. She was able to calm the group, and she asked them to turn the man over to her, and she would bring them to the authorities so that they could hold him accountable. She argued justice, not revenge. And the people of Peru, and really that whole continent of South America, they're religious people. And they believe in God, and they believe in the teachings of the Bible. So they calmed down, and they allowed this missionary to take this man from them. So this is the case of Pedro Lopez, also known as the Monster of the Andes. So, yes. So it's an interesting little moniker for him.
Yeah, monster is right.
Yes, the Monster of the Andes. And he is, as I said, the most prolific serial killer in world history. So I do need to begin by addressing two things. First, an extra trigger warning because this case does involve the murder and sexual assault of children, which always sucks, and unfortunately serial killers tend to go down that path. And second, there are many sources for this case, and strangely, a lot of them don't quite line up.
Interesting.
Yeah, so dates and places aren't always 100% accurate, which I find really strange, but then again, I have to remember what part of the world it's coming from, and even the year that it's coming from.
So it's he said, she said for these sources.
Some of them. And you'd think that they would be, better documented, but they're not. So that's strange. So if anyone's listening and I get a date wrong from something you've read, I apologize. I did my best to choose what I thought was accurate, but there's only so much you can do. So here we go.
Mm-hmm.
So Pedro Lopez was born the 7th of 13 children on October 8th, 1948 in Isabela or Tolima, Colombia, depending upon your source. So people can't even decide on where this guy was born. Which again, 1948, Colombia, I'm not surprised they didn't have good record keeping.
Right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So his early life was marked by tragedy, as his father, Medardo Reyes, a member of the country's right-wing party, was killed during an event called La Violencia, a brutal civil war that claimed over 200,000 lives.
Holy hell.
Fucking nuts, man.
That's crazy.
Lopez's mother, Benilda, she was 3 months pregnant with him at the time of his father's death. And to feed her family, Benilda turned to sex work. According to Lopez, he witnessed acts of prostitution by his mother while he was growing up, and this had a disturbing effect on his psychiatric health.
As well it should.
Yeah, I'm
Right.
sure it can't be fucking easy.
I'm picturing a small, like, one-room hut for him and his siblings while his mother's working. You know what I mean? That's crazy.
Oh, God, no.
So despite the challenging circumstances, Lopez was initially described as a polite child who dreamed of becoming a teacher someday.
Well, that's much different than what we're normally used to hearing.
Well, a dream is one thing, yeah. I'll give him that. But we're talking young, you know?
Like, yeah, but most of the time it's, all doom and gloom.
No, that's true. I mean, you look at the Night Stalker's life, and everything down that path was a fucking shit show.
Oh, yeah.
So when he turned 8 years old, Lopez's life took a dark turn.
There it is.
Some accounts suggest that he was expelled from his home for inappropriate behavior towards his sister.
Oh, God.
As in his
I
mother...
mean, he's repeating what he's seen.
Right, as in his mother caught him fondling her or something along those lines.
Oh, fuck, that's gross.
Now, other claims state that he just ran away. So, again, sources, very differing things. So, the first
That's
one...
very different.
So
yeah, those are two drastically different stories.
Right, and the first one may or may not be true. It might have been someone trying to make him look worse than he was. Granted, his crimes are fucking awful. But
Right, but they're trying to say, like, look, he was like this from birth. He's
right.
not.
At 8 years old, I mean, an 8-year-old boy, I'm not saying he's not capable. I'm just saying there's not quite the reason for it at 8 years old. You know what I mean?
He's kind of, and it's an unfortunate, like, he's aware of his mother's sex work, and he's probably exposed to it, and it's really not appropriate for a child to see any of that.
Right, and at best, he's probably wondering, he may, if it's true, he was probably acting out something he saw because he didn't understand it, maybe, because he certainly hasn't hit puberty by 18, so it's not like he has that drive. You know, he's not attracted, he's not sexually attracted yet, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it's strange. But regardless of all that, Lopez found himself on the streets of Bogota, which is Colombia's capital city. He was homeless and terrified, and he slept in alleyways and empty village market stalls, and he was living hand to mouth on the streets. He joined a gang of homeless children and became involved with drugs. In particular, an impure form of cocaine was something that was passed around at the time. Mostly because I'm sure the poor couldn't get their hands on the quality cocaine that Pablo Escobar was selling.
Right, to save the good stuff for the exports.
Right. So during this vulnerable period of time, Lopez also experienced severe trauma. A seemingly kind stranger offered him shelter, but instead he sexually assaulted Lopez in an abandoned building.
Oh.
This event wasn't isolated. At age 10, an elderly American couple took Lopez in and enrolled him in a school for orphans. However, this chance at a better life was shattered when at 12, he was molested by a teacher.
Oh my God.
Yep. This was what we were talking about earlier, Jameson. You just jumped in too soon. He was only 8 at that point. The bad shit hadn't started rolling on him yet.
Apparently it all hit him all at once.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So this prompted him to flee back to the streets where he resorted to a life of crime to survive. At 21 years old, he was arrested for auto theft and sentenced to 7 years in prison. Now, his time behind bars proved to be another crucible for him, a crucible of violence. On his second day behind bars, he was gang raped by 4 older inmates.
Oh, God.
Jesus fucking Christ. That's how you make a monster.
Yep. Instead of reporting the crime, Lopez fashioned himself a crude knife and went out for revenge, killing 3 of his assailants in the next 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
You know what?
Which I hate to say it, but like, go the fuck off.
Hell yeah, I'm all for that. Authorities at the time described his homicides as self-defense, so they only tacked on an additional 2 years to Lopez's sentence.
That's so fair.
I agree. Fuck these guys. If they're gonna do that, you can't take someone against their will. Like, it's so fucked up. So Lopez's transformation into a serial killer began almost immediately upon his release from prison in 1978. His time behind bars had left him with a newly acquired taste for blood and an intense hatred for his own mother, which he then extended to include all women in general.
Oh, it's unfortunate, but you see how it's happening.
Following his release, Lopez embarked on a horrific journey across northwestern South America. He initially targeted young girls from indigenous tribes in Peru, claiming that he murdered over 100 street children during this period.
What the fuck?
Oh yeah. His modus operandi generally involved the following. He would walk along the markets searching for a girl with a certain look on her face, like a look of innocence and beauty. He would look for one that he believed was a good girl, the type that would be out there working with her mother to help support her family. He would follow that girl, sometimes for as long as 2 or 3 days,
Oh my God.
waiting for the moment when that girl was left unattended. He would then approach her and he would give her a shiny trinket sort of thing. And then he would ask her if she wanted another one that she could give to her mother. And then yeah, it's a tricky little thing. And that girl would then follow him to the edge of town, or basically away from where all the other people were. Lopez would later state that he wanted to rape and kill the children of visiting tourists because he wanted to take their beautiful blonde daughters.
Ooh.
Fucking crazy. But he said he never got a chance to do that because their parents were too watchful, which, yeah, of course, they're in a strange place. So Lopez's reign of terror expanded as he made his way to Ecuador, where scores of girls began to vanish.
Ugh.
Despite the increasing number of missing persons reports, authorities dismissed these disappearances, basically saying they didn't really care because they thought it was human trafficking.
Oh my God.
Which, what?
What? That's insanity.
Like,
Ugh.
I can understand. I can't really understand someone saying, "I don't know, they're just a runaway." But to be like, "Oh yeah, well your kid was probably human trafficked, so we're not going to get up off our asses," blows my mind. So
Well, apparently it's a common thing there.
it must be, but still, that doesn't mean you should just sit on your laurels. Like get up off your
I'm
ass.
not saying
Right.
I'm not saying it's right. I'm just like, apparently that's commonplace for them.
I guess it's fucking crazy to me. So this misinterpretation allowed Lopez to continue his murderous rampage unchecked. He later said, quote, "I like the girls in Ecuador. They are more gentle and trusting, more innocent. They are not as suspicious of strangers as the Colombian girls are," unquote.
Ugh.
Fucked up.
Which just means they're easier to control and easier to take advantage of.
Right. Yeah, they're going to follow him. They're going to be more docile.
Yeah.
So this killer's gruesome rituals involved abducting the girls and taking them to pre-prepared grave sites.
Oh God.
Oh.
Sometimes there were bodies of earlier victims already in the pits.
Oh.
No.
Lopez carried them to this place, holding them in his arms like a loving parent. And then he would wait.
Oh, that's just sadistic.
And then he would wait until sunrise before raping them.
Oh.
Oh.
He later explained that at the sight of the first sign of light, he would start to get excited. And he would force the girls into sex as he put his hands around their throats.
Oh.
As the sun rose, he would strangle the girl, and then he would derive pleasure from watching, as he put it, a certain light fade from her eyes.
Oh, that's so fucked.
Yeah, this guy's fucked up. He claimed that he was very considerate and would spend a long time with them making sure they were dead, using a mirror to check to make sure they were not still breathing.
Wow, so fucking considerate.
Yeah, what an amazing guy. That's sarcasm for those who don't get that. Lopez would then slit the girls' wrists or throats to see if blood was still pumping. And if they had somehow survived his strangulation, he would finish them off, having said that sometimes he had to kill the girls over and over again.
That's just
Oh.
mind-blowing. That's sick.
His depravity extended beyond murder, as he would often violate the corpses before burying them.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Come on.
Fucked.
The monster of the Andes. I honestly think monster is not strong enough a word.
No.
Like demon or something. Terror. Fuck.
Abomination.
So Lopez's killing spree came to a temporary halt when he was caught by a group of Ayachucos, an indigenous people, while he was attempting to lure away a 9-year-old girl. Lopez was beaten by his captors, stripped and tortured, and then this indigenous people started to prepare to bury him alive.
Oh, God.
Holy shit.
They had poured syrup on him, and they were going to let him be eaten alive by ants.
Oh, shit.
Holy shit. Never heard that one before.
He narrowly escaped death at their hands when an American missionary intervened, promising to hand him over to the authorities.
Wow, very fucking helpful.
They grudgingly agreed, and they loaded him, still tied up, into the back of her vehicle, and she drove away. Somehow, he talked her out of bringing him to the police.
Oh, come
Classic.
on. Seriously?
She released him at the border of Colombia and let him go.
Oh, that's the biggest mistake.
Insane.
Lopez later stated that he didn't kill this missionary because she was too old and therefore not attractive to him.
Wow.
That's twisted.
Honestly, for what she did, she should have been killed. That's just my thoughts.
Well, no, but
Yeah.
that being the only reason why he didn't, like...
No, I
not-
agree, but I know she didn't know, but fuck. She could have saved God knows how many lives.
Right.
Right.
So a sudden rash of missing girls in 3 adjacent nations was, as always, ascribed to the activity of slavery or prostitution rings, but the authorities had no firm evidence one way or the other. So they're taking no action. Still. And this is 3 countries: Ecuador, Colombia, and Peru. Then, in 1980, flash floods in Ambato, Ecuador, unearthed the remains of 4 missing girls, prompting authorities to reopen their investigations, assuming they even started them. 3 of the bodies of the girls that were found had been strangled with such ferocity that their eyes had popped out of their sockets.
Oh, I hate to think that's a real thing.
Ow.
Man, that's like cartoon level violence.
Yeah. The 4th girl's eyes were still in her head, but they were frozen open in horror.
Yeah, I don't blame her.
Ugh.
Lopez's trail of devastation also extended to Colombia, as in Peru and Ecuador, girls there began disappearing at an alarming rate. Initially, same as the other countries, authorities dismissed these cases as human trafficking or runaways, allowing him to go unchecked.
Mm-hmm.
The true extent of his crimes in Colombia remain unclear, but it contributed to his overall victim count. Pedro Lopez's reign of terror came to an end on March 9, 1980 in Ecuador. Carvina Poveda, a local woman, spotted Lopez attempting to abduct her 12-year-old daughter Maria at the Plaza Rosa marketplace. Carvina quickly raised the alarm, prompting local merchants to apprehend Lopez and hold him until the police arrived, and he was finally
There we go.
arrested.
Can't be that easy. It can't.
No, it's not even close to being that easy. Initially, Lopez refused to cooperate with authorities. I'm going to tell you right now, before we go any further, this ending is going to piss you 2 off.
No. Oh,
Great.
fuck.
Spoiler alert.
I swear to God, if it's
Great.
unsolved.
It's unsolved. I'm giving you the guy's name.
It's the running
Fair
joke,
enough.
man. It's the running joke.
I know, but it's just funny. All right. However, so he refused to cooperate, and however, police employed a clever strategy to extract a confession. They placed a pastor, literally a priest, posing as an inmate in Lopez's cell.
Oh.
Over a 27-day period, this pastor, named Gonzalez, gained Lopez's trust, leading to the shocking revelations of his crimes. Lopez boasted of murdering over 300 girls across
Holy shit.
across Ecuador,
Don't fucking
Colombia.
boast about this, dude.
I don't know. I don't know what it is about killers like this. They love to like boast about it. So again, this is across Ecuador, Colombia, and Peru, but some experts suggest that they think his number is closer to 70 rather than 300. Now, in the
Wait, why the drastic drop off?
because as you're going to see, a lot of the bodies couldn't be located. Yeah, because he's burying them out in like these dense forests in South America. So yeah, like them finding them, like in some cases, are going to be really difficult. But so that's why they're dropping it to 70. But we'll get to more of that in a bit. So in the course of his confessions, Lopez made an effort to invest his crimes with a philosophical kind of trapping, claiming that, quote, I lost my innocence at the age of 8. So I decided to do the same to as many young girls as I could, unquote.
Ew.
That's just fucked up.
Yeah.
And murder them?
Yeah, again, it's fucked up to me, but this is an asshole, like a monster trying to justify his crime. So anything he says is BS.
Yeah, 100%.
Lopez allegedly sought out one victim immediately after another. His bloodlust became more insatiable over time. In a disturbing twist, Lopez told this priest that he held tea parties with the exhumed bodies. He literally
What?
He literally propped them up in their graves and talked to them.
Oh God, that's absolutely nasty. Oh no.
Oh, it was
No.
horrific. Hate it.
He said that his little friends liked to have company, and he often
Oh no.
often put 3 or 4 girls in a single hole as he talked to them.
Ew.
Yeah. He said that it was like having a party, but after a while, because they couldn't move, he would get bored and eventually went looking for new girls. It's fucked up.
Gross. Really
Fucked
gross.
up. So to verify his claims, Lopez led authorities to a mass grave that contained 53 victims.
Oh my God.
53. That's one hell of a tea party.
Yeah, no kidding.
At 28 other sites, searchers came up empty in the wake. So here's the fucked up part. They were out there looking, but they couldn't find anything because they had to like abandon the search because they were being attacked by predatory animals in the area.
Oh shit.
I mean,
Oh.
yeah, this is the fucking rainforest down in fucking South America. Crazy. But police were convinced that he definitely, not only that he did it, but that he may have killed a lot more. His detailed confessions ultimately confirmed 110 murders in Ecuador alone.
Holy
Ew.
shit.
Yeah. So that's why when people say they think it's as low as 70, I'm like, if he found 53 in one site, I don't think it's only 70.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, it's just, there's no way 70. Like, okay, you killed 53 here and only 17 more in these other 2 countries. No.
No,
This
absolutely not.
guy's a fucking savage. So Major Victor Lascano was the director of the Ambato prison, and he explained, quote, if someone confesses to 53 and you find hundreds, you tend to believe what he says.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lascano went on to say, quote, I think his estimate of 300 might be low because in the beginning he cooperated with us and took us to 3 or 4 hidden corpses a day. And then he got tired and changed his mind and stopped helping, unquote. fucking crazy. In 1983, Lopez was sentenced to life in prison, which, under Ecuadorian law, carried a maximum term of 16 years.
Are you
Come
shitting me?
on.
What?
16 years. So Lopez served his sentence at the Garcia Moreno prison in Quito. Pedro Alonso Lopez was held in the center of an otherwise abandoned section of the prison, far from the other prisoners for their safety and for his. There was an unofficial reward that was believed to have been raised by the families of his victims of $25,000 to any guard or prisoner who killed him.
Damn.
All right. That's good.
Come on, prisoners, do your work.
Right? I'm not going to lie, between the we're going to cover him in honey and have him eaten by fucking ants and a fucking bounty, this is amazing.
Yeah.
I'm kind of loving South America. So one reporter who actually got in to see him was searched for weapons as he went through 3 levels of security to get to him.
Oh, God.
Yeah, and as far as I can tell, this reporter named Ron Leitner is the only reporter to ever get to interview him this way. Ron foolishly and innocently held out his hand for Lopez to shake when they met.
You dumbass.
Lopez gripped his hand and began squeezing, and all Ron could imagine was the fact that these hands had exerted that much pressure on the necks of young girls.
Oh, awful.
He said in the report that he wrote that his hand went numb from the pressure.
Ugh.
Now, Lopez then invited the director of the prison into the little cell during the interview, but only if that director's pretty young daughter, who was there acting as an interpreter, also joined them in the cell.
No.
He told the warden that he had not touched a woman in a dozen years. He would not go forward with the interview unless he got to touch the warden's daughter's hands.
Ew. No.
Ew.
At this point, the guards aimed pistols at him through the bars. Then, this brave young girl held out her hands, and the monster of the Andes very carefully touched the ends of his fingers to her wrists.
Oh, God.
Ugh.
The moment passed, he withdrew his hands, and then he began talking. He later told them that the warden's daughter, who was about 26, was too old for him and he wasn't interested. Fucking asshole.
Wow.
Nauseating.
So, just after New Year's in 1998, 4 prison guards and an officer took Lopez out of his cell in solitary confinement, cuffed his hands behind his back, and put him into the back of a locked police van. They were followed by 2 escort vehicles, and they drove to the Colombian border. And 2 years early, because of good behavior,
Fuck that. No. Not okay.
Pedro Lopez was released.
No.
Come on.
Come on.
Fucking ridiculous.
Please tell me there's some kind of vigilante justice.
So the Ecuadorian government said that they were deporting him into Colombia because he did not have a visa to stay in Ecuador. Keep in mind, he was born in Colombia. Lopez was given a bottle of water, a new pair of shoes, a shirt and pants, and a small amount of Colombian pesos, as well as a package of food, and then he was set loose.
Oh my God, they're so fucking dumb.
I just want to know, I don't care how good your behavior is, if they found anywhere between 53 and 110 bodies of little girls, why are you letting him out at all?
Right, you're just gonna get more bodies.
Like, I'm sorry, if I worked anywhere, I would have done it for free. He would have been dead under my watch.
For sure.
So, a week later, police found Lopez back in Ecuador because Lopez believed it was the best country for a serial killer because they didn't have a death penalty. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. Yep.
Fuck that.
So they quickly took Lopez back into Colombia and told him never to return.
Yep. I mean, as if they're gonna stop him, really.
Again, take him out into the jungle and put a bullet in his head.
For real.
However, this time, Colombian authorities arrested and charged him with a 20-year-old murder, but they were unable to build a case against him. So they declared Lopez was insane and they admitted him into a mental hospital.
Oh, awesome.
Well,
Great.
a handful of years later, in 1999, he was deemed to be sane and he was released on either a $50 or a $70 bail.
What?
Yep. With the condition that he report back periodically to authorities.
As
Yeah,
if that's
sure.
gonna-
Okay, cool.
At that point, Pedro Lopez promptly vanished.
No shit.
Yup.
Really?
The last confirmed sighting of Pedro Lopez was in September of 1999 when he visited the National Civil Registry to renew his citizenship card.
Wow.
In 2002, the Colombian government launched an Interpol order of arrest against Lopez for a fresh murder.
Of course. Wow, I'm so shocked.
The last rumor stated that he was currently living in Tolima, Colombia as a homeless man, but that can't be confirmed. His current whereabouts are unknown.
Ah. No.
Wow.
The most prolific serial killer in global history, and nobody knows where the fuck he is or even if he is still alive.
Oh my.
Ugh.
Now, I do need to state one last thing before we wrap this whole thing up. It's worth noting that there have been no cases of missing young girls reported that seem to be connected to him. So I personally think it's likely that he finally met some mob justice.
Yeah, also at this point, he's old as fuck.
Right, at this point. But who the hell knows, in the early 2000s, he could have easily... I mean, he's going
Right.
after children.
Right.
It's not like he's taking on 20-year-olds at the height of their physical abilities.
No, I like to think somebody fucking offed him.
It had to have happened. Like,
I mean, I would be surprised if they didn't claim it, but
yeah, that's true too. But I mean, depending upon what country he was in, who he ran into, he could. I mean, who the hell knows? He could have been killed by a predatory animal that kept these police away from looking for bodies.
true.
Yep.
That would be good.
Right?
Killed by a predator? That rocks.
Yeah.
That's a little poetic justice for you.
Right. Exactly.
Is that canon in your head now? That's how
Predator
he died.
versus predator.
That's how he died. But yeah, that is the case of Pedro Alonso Lopez, the monster of the Andes. Crazy.
My dear God.
I-
What insanity.
Ugh, horrific.
I
And
told-
I can't believe they just let him go.
I don't, again, 16 years for murder, okay, I suppose, but when it's that horrific, that many young children, fuck that.
Right. You can clearly tell where their, loyalties lie in that country.
It's fucking nuts. I don't get it. I really don't. But-
Oh, yeah. Doesn't make any fucking sense.
But yeah, so that one I know probably should have been a For Joyous' information because it's one of the famous ones, but it's not in the US, it's not that famous. So I was like, all right, we won't do it as a For Joyous'. So
Yeah.
because
Sure, but now I certainly have the information.
right. But next week we are doing our next For Joyous' information. So that
Woo!
Hell yeah.
that one is going to be a famous case. We won't say which one yet, but yeah, that's going to be a good time. So, all right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us once again. I am Janus Dead,
I'm Jameson dead.
And I'm Joyous dead.
and we'll see you next week.
Bye.